Howdy everybody, we got a nice little Mastery Monday video going on today where we are going to be talking about the 4 demons to making good decisions, right? Very important in a game like this where a lot of your macro decisions are equally as important to the micro, you know, the often unseen and ignored repercussions that exist and can snowball into victory or defeat, right? So as always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment after this video. I will ask you a question at the end pertaining to the video, and let's get this show on the road. So these are the 4 demons to good decision making, okay? So let's get this out of the way. What exactly is a good decision? You know, people often think, well, it's one that generally leads to the results that I'm seeking, right? Incorrect. No, that is arrogant of you to think that. Why? Because you are not the only variable in the equation of life that equates to your results. There are other things beyond our control, right? So the next best thing is we have to try to do things with probability in mind. Well, if I can't guarantee this, then what's most likely going to give me the result that I want, right? That's ideally what a good decision is. So when you play fighting games with that in mind, it's a lot easier to make decisions and reduce the self-imposed pressure that you would put on yourself because of perfectionism. All right, these 4 demons are elements that will naturally cause you to make poor decisions, okay? And adjacent to these demons, you will see an acronym. The acronym is WRAP, W-R-A-P, right? Highlighted here with the little green letters, right? For my little visual creatures in the chat. Okay, so we're gonna go through each of these one by one rather. We're gonna talk about real world examples. We're gonna talk about Street Fighter examples, and then the solutions and what are some ideas that you can apply today to help you make better decisions objectively. Sounds good? Sounds good? Sounds good. I'll say it for you. All right, so let's begin. Narrow framing. What is narrow framing? Well, narrow framing is when you are binary with your options. What does that sound like? Well, basically, it's if I were to be like, hey, should I wear this or that? Should I go here or there? Should I do this or that? The key word that you'll hear either in your mind or verbally in conversation is the word or, right? So what that ends up doing is it tricks you into thinking that there is only one path that you can take. There's only one tool that you can use in the tool shed, right? There's only one solution that you can try to apply. And that's not really the case. And naturally, see, if it stopped there, it'd be all right, right? It's not that big of a deal. But the thing is, humans are naturally lazy, and we like to take the path of least resistance. So when you're narrow framing, right, where you've narrowed down your options to a this or that scenario, A or B, right? You typically operate within the realms of familiarity, within options that you are already exposed to or have a bias towards, okay? So what would this be like in life? Well, you know, it's like, well, should I break up with my girlfriend or should I stay with her, right? Why does it have to be that extreme? See? Or should I leave my job or should I stay there? Doesn't have to be that extreme either. So what you'd want to do is apply this solution, the W in the WRAP acronym, widening your options, right? So by widening your options, now you don't choose from those lazy, immediate, obvious options that have basically given you the same results leading up to this moment, right? And in order for us to get new results, we have to do something new, correct? So we widen our options. So now we widen our options and say, all right, well, how the hell do I do that? How do I not stay within the confines of the options that I'm naturally going to lean towards? Simple. We could do this little game called the anti-genie test, okay? So imagine, you know, in Aladdin, right? You had Genie, right? So you guys know Genie from Aladdin, voiced by the legendary Robin Williams. You rub the lamp, you get 3 wishes, right? Well, you grab the lamp, the genie comes out first, then he's like, you know, surprise the shit out of you, like, what the hell is this guy doing? And then he's like, all right, I'll give you any wish you want, any 3 wishes, right? Okay. But the anti-genie test is, imagine you rub the lamp thinking the genie comes out, but instead it's Jafar, who's the villain in Aladdin. Jafar comes out and he says, you know, the 2 things that you wanted to do, we're gonna get rid of it. You cannot use those as options. All right. So basically think of it like that. So whatever your natural options were, you remove them from the table, and now you are forced to think. You are forced to assess and actually discern. Okay. You have to strengthen and exercise your discernment muscles. So that's what that is. So imagine if you had like a spotlight, right? Like on a stage, like, you know, Romeo and Juliet. You don't really see what's happening on the stage unless you grab the spotlight and you highlight another part of the stage, right? The point of the light is to emphasize some aspect of the story, whether it's a character, whether it's a you know, somebody lurking in the back, right? Or to focus on a certain dialogue, right? By you eliminating your natural options, those instinctive, impulsive decisions that you want to make, because you've removed those options from the table, you are forced to grab your spotlight and navigate it to other areas that you aren't considering naturally. All right. And usually that's where you'll find the decisions that will like ultimately change your life. Because remember, your life is determined by what? The way you think, right? Which then affects the way you feel, which affects the way you act. Acting a set amount of times creates your habits. Your habits determine your character. Your character, ultimately, your destiny, right? So if you want to change that, you have to change one of those things in that equation, right? So because you're taking the spotlight, now you're forced to think about other things. You're forced to change your thinking, which might change the way you feel. So instead of, like in a Street Fighter example, instead of complaining about, damn, this matchup is ass, right? It's very easy. We've all done this. Instead of doing that, say, damn, you know, I could complain or I can ignore it. How about instead, I don't do either of those things. I remove those options. What am I left to do? Well, I'm left to either stop playing the game. I can go and maybe take a break. Or I can play another character. I can learn the matchup. I can ask other people for advice. You see how many more options have now popped up simply off of just removing your natural inclinations to just bitch and moan? Very important. Okay? Here's a more direct example in a fighting game sense. Let's say we're playing, okay, and I'm playing Luke, all right, and I'm pressuring you. I knock you down, and now you're like, oh shit, I got a reversal super. I gotta get out of this situation. The situation is not good for me. Let's say I knock you down again, and now your other option is, okay, well, I'm going to just block. Okay? I'm going to just block. Do this again. I'm going to block. So now you're just going back and forth between these 2 options, which is going to be block or super. Okay? So we'll just kind of mix this up. Right? Boom. Okay, you just keep going back and forth between these 2 things. The problem with this is that this is linear, and in a fighting game like this especially, you want to create some sort of element of uncertainty in your opponent's mind, which can cause them to hesitate, maybe overcomplicate things, maybe to not trust themselves, right? Or to become arrogant. But either way, the idea is to just somehow tilt them off of whatever natural confidence that they have by introducing variance. So on defense, if you want to strengthen your defense, for example, you have to widen your options. You don't just look at something binary and say, should I block or not, right? No, how about we get rid of blocking and the super and now think about every other possible defensive option that we have. All right, let's think about it. Ready? For example, Marissa can do backdash. She can do jump, right? She can do EX Gladius. She can do immediate jab. She can do delay jab, okay? She can do delay jump, okay? She can do parry. right? Certain instances, it's not a bad idea to do wake up DI, especially when you know people are autopiloting their offense, see? But when you think like this, it's a lot easier to now cultivate solutions that will be more accurate, right? They will involve the opponent and the way that they play. It's not going to just be this one player game in your head. That's what narrow framing typically causes, right? You kind of play this one player game, this selfish game, and it makes it very difficult for you to be present minded enough to allow the opponent to give you the information to strengthen the probability of you making great decisions. Okay, so this is how you would go about it. This is one of the ways that you can strengthen that. Okay, let's say a neutral, you know, you have this one method or two methods of trying to get in as Marissa. It's I'm gonna jump or I'm gonna DI. That's all you're doing. You're DIing or you're jumping, right? Well, let's get rid of those two options. You now have drive rush. You also have walk, right? Just straight walk. You have walk and block. See how much more variance we're already adding? You have like a shimmy and then slowly take more and more space, you see? So like over time, you're walking back less than you're walking forward, you see? Like that. And then you start to slowly become this like spiked wall that's pushing Indiana Jones towards the corner, okay? What else could we do? We could do maybe walk up in parries, right? Whatever obstacle that they try to present, we can parry that, maybe perfect parry and punish accordingly, okay? You know, she can do EX Gladius, right? She can do Superman punch as a means of traversing space. See, so there's so many different ways. But the thing is when when you get rewarded with a certain style of play over time, you kind of harden and become linear, and then you rely on that, especially if you get obsessed with winning, or the other alternative, which is obsessed with not losing. You try so hard not to lose, so you just keep bouncing back and forth between this or that style of decision making, play, strategy, tactics, whatever, defense, offense, the whole shebang. So you want to alleviate yourself of that, and it requires immense mindfulness. And what helps you cultivate that mindfulness is watching your replays. Go and assess, well, what does it seem that I typically resort to? Is it possible that I have a narrow frame when it comes to presenting options to my opponent? Well, this might be that. Okay. So now let's go into the next demon, which is confirmation bias. What is confirmation bias? Essentially what it is you are seeking information that serves what you already want to believe, right? Self-serving information. So it is like, for example, if you're angry, right? You're just angry. You wake up angry. At the light, some guy looks at you. Right? He just looks at you. You don't even know why he's looking at you, but you're angry. So what do? You perceive it as a slight. This man's looking at me. He's disrespecting me. Why is he looking at me like this? Why are you looking at me like this? Does this man want problems? In reality, that dude just might recognize you. He might think you're somebody he knows, or maybe it's somebody you don't remember. Right? Or maybe he's not even looking at you. He's looking past your car. Or maybe he's looking at your car. Maybe he likes your car. Right? Maybe he's looking at the thing in the background that your car's blocking. Or he sees somebody else. But because you're angry, you've skewed this situation to fit some sort of motive that you have, which is to reinforce the feeling of anger. Okay? That's what confirmation bias is. So it can happen through an emotional standpoint or a logical standpoint. So logically, it can be like, well, you know, I am a huge fan of LeBron James. So you know what? Anything that makes LeBron James look like he's the greatest player of all time, guess what? I'm going to like it. I'm going to retweet it. But if there's any arguments or presented facts that debate that, I'm automatically going to shun it. This is horse shit. I don't want to listen to this. Right? No, this can't be. That's basically confirmation bias in a logical sense. Right? So in a Street Fighter sense, what that would look like is when you're playing somebody, right? And let's say you don't like the character in front of you. Marissa pisses a lot of people off. So before the match even starts, you already are going off of the belief systems from your past experiences, which have hardened into a bias, which is like, Marissa's stupid. I hate this bitch. Marissa is so annoying, right? So then, guess what? Now every single thing she does is going to annoy you. And what do you think that's going to cause you to do? It's going to cause you to be tense. It's going to cause you to fight yourself. It's going to cause you to not be focused, because you're going to be sitting there having dialogues with yourself, as opposed to just looking at things objectively to help you make good decisions. All right? If you're sitting here shunning and talking shit about this character in front of you, well, guess what, broham? You're just wasting energy. And the thing about energy, right, within life, if you look at people, right, life in general, you know what requires a lot of what is it rather? You know what is required in order to make great change in life? It is an energy. You need a large abundance of energy, right? And you know what they call that? They call that passion. So you see people that rarely change, they don't have passion. They are the people that are like, they're just miserable, cynical, all right? Woe is me, you know? And those people don't have passion, either because they allowed something to strip them of that passion, or they didn't handle a certain trauma in their life appropriately. All right, which is the tough thing about life. Life is it's a challenge. It comes with suffering, and we have to be equipped to manage that suffering. That's the realities of life. It just is what it is. And if we do or don't, doesn't matter. The world's going to go on with or without you. That is just the reality of the situation. Okay, so with this in mind, instead of, you know, just sitting there and saying, oh man, I just can't stand this character, or here's another classic example, this guy's playstyle is stupid, right? And now because this playstyle is stupid, you start to play with this tension, right? And now you're not loose, you're not playing in that flow state, because now there's a challenge that exists beyond just playing the game. There's now a psychological barrier in front of you and your opponent. Okay, and that can skew and affect your decision making, or how you respond to elements of the repercussions from your decision making process, right? And now you get frustrated because she hit you with something. Now you're getting angry. Now you're like a bull in a china shop and you're just about to break everything. Okay, so what do we do to solve this? We reality test our assumptions. How do we do that? It's a nice little game of consider the opposite is true. So instead of me saying, man, Marissa's fucking cheap, she's broken, you know what I can do instead? Wait, what if she's not broken? What if there's a part of her that is actually weak? There's something I can take advantage of. Wait a minute. You see? And now guess what you're doing? You are now widening your options from the prior step we talked about, because now you're handling this thing differently. Instead of just going off of your biases in which you're trying to confirm, you're now like, you know, I naturally feel like this towards her, which is fine. We're not going to invalidate that. But as a skillful player, as a elite player, as a world-class competitor, I refuse to succumb to that. What can I discover about this? What is this something that I'm not considering? That she's weak, right? What am I not considering about this playstyle that's stupid? Wait a minute, what if it's not stupid? What if, well, here's my favorite part. How can I use it? That's one of my favorite ways to shatter confirmation bias. Is I used to have a list of things in 5 that used to piss me off, right? And I would say, man, this is so stupid. But then I realized, like, yo, I'm gonna make a list of things that I think is stupid, and I'm gonna try to use it, just so I can see, like, how can I use it? And it helped me get way better with Sagat, because I would appreciate my opponents a lot more and be like, oh wow, this is actually pretty cool. You know, I would think this is stupid, but you know, there's actually some use for this. I think there's a time and a place for every concept, right? Even things that are deemed like executionally easy, things that are simple, right? And there's also time for the complex and the abstract and everything in between, right? So you find appreciation for things. So this is a nice way of like going against your confirmation bias, right? And you learn to kind of love all things about the game. It makes it way easier, you know, because I know this game can be brutal. I know there's aspects of it that frustrate people. Frustrates me too. But because I prioritize being a champion more than I prioritize being a whining, I rather improve. You know, it's okay to be upset. It's okay, but just don't sit and melt in that pot of frustration. Okay, it's not gonna do you or anybody any good, right? So now let's go to our third demon, short-term emotion. So your short-term emotion essentially is that feeling that you get based off of our perception of an event. Okay, so in life that can be, you know, you being late to work and then the person in front of you is driving really slow. You get frustrated, you get angry, and now you've allowed yourself to be immersed in that anger. Now you filter your experiences through anger. Now you have these biases. Now you've narrowly framed yourself. So you see, the interesting thing about these demons is that they can kind of bleed into or cause one another to surface. Okay, so short-term emotion you can have from something just basically off of how you've perceived the event. All right, Viktor Frankl, who was a man who was in a concentration camp during the Holocaust, he had a book called Man's Search for Meaning, I believe it is. And he had some really interesting quotes and experiences with the guards where he was, mind you, this dude was burying like his family members, right? And he's seeing kids and women and children just dying, right? And this man was so determined to not let it break his spirit that the guards started to befriend him. They started to like admire his inner strength, and he befriended the guards in the concentration camp. That is so insane. All right, and simply by being able to attain some distance, you can do this. So how can you attain distance? Attaining distance is a matter of taking yourself out of the situation, not taking it personal. All right, if you can find a way to not take something personal, it'll greatly reduce the emotional turmoil that you feel from a situation. Okay, so for example, what I like to ask is like people I care about, I'll use them as an example. If I'm in a situation that gets me mad, let's say I'm playing and I'm very upset. Oh man, I just fucking lost. I just lost to this player and I know I could beat him, and I just played so like weird, man. I don't know why. I'll be upset, and it's okay. You allow it to happen, right? You remember the RAIN acronym, right? You recognize it, acknowledge it, investigate it, and then nurture yourself, right? You allow that to happen, okay. So after some time, what you could do is you attain some distance by asking, all right, well, what would I tell somebody that I love if they were in the same situation as me? What would I tell one of my best friends, Rubes? What would I tell Nelbomb, right? What would I tell my brother? What would I tell my cousins? What would I tell them? What would I tell my chat? Because I care about my chat, right? What would I tell you guys if you guys were in my shoes? You see, what it does is it takes Zaf out of the equation, and now you can look at things objectively. There's no color. It's just black and white. It's like this happened, that happened, that's it. Ignore the gray areas. Okay, we're just like, this is what factually has occurred. Okay, now attaining distance is something that can be difficult, of course, if you don't have mindfulness. You have to be mindful of the fact that you are angry. See, but emotions happen so quickly, and then we act on them almost as quickly. But the ability to create space between you and the stimuli and your response to the stimuli, that pocket of time and space is where you can be free to exercise independent will, your consciousness, your imagination, right? You can exercise those things inside of that pocket, and that's how you can ultimately make a decision. Okay, so now let's say in a Street Fighter sense, if I'm feeling nervous, okay, I'm like, damn, I'm playing Marissa, I don't really feel comfortable against her. Well, let me tell you something. One of the ways of cultivating confidence is through experience, direct experience, because you realize as humans we make things way worse than they actually are. Right? It's kind of like a survival mechanism that's just in our amygdala, right? In that primitive part of our brain. We just like to make things, we ostracize shit. We just make shit way worse than it actually probably is. All right, so it's a video game, mind you, but again, you're a human being, right? So these things will happen. So I see Marissa, I get nervous. Damn, I don't feel comfortable. She has level 3. If I get hit, all right. So then you say, all right, well, I need to attain some distance. All right, let me remove myself from this equation. Let me remove Marissa. Fundamentally speaking, what would I tell somebody in this situation if I want them to overcome this anxiety? Well, they have to teach themselves that it's not as dangerous as you think. So I would say, yo, just walk forward. Walk forward, just walk forward. Just be in the fire. Because Because you're gonna realize, yo, it's not as scary as I think. Because if I am here, like, yeah, she can throw me, she can command grab me, but she can't hit me with super, right? She can't like just, I can't explode. She's gonna have to do something that's mitigated and damage. The most damaging thing she could do is a command grab, right? She can try to overhead me, but that's something I can react to. There's no real, like, it's not like a real mix, right? Mix-ups occur when you don't accept things, when you try to cover everything, all right? You can minimize the effectiveness of a mix-up if you choose to lose how you want to lose, all right? That's how you strengthen your defense. But in order to do that, you have to accept losing, right? Which we'll go into the next and final demon in a moment. But you want to attain some distance, right? So think of somebody that you care about, or somebody, you know, that would watch you, or just remove yourself from the equation and say, yo, what would I tell this person, right? And it makes it so much easier for you to approach things objectively instead of subjectively. So now, the last and final demon is overconfidence. Overconfidence is simply... Okay, so let me back this up. I don't believe in having too much confidence. I believe in having overconfidence, right? What is that? Too much confidence versus overconfidence. Too much confidence is, you know, people just believe that they can do anything. That's totally fine, right? And, you know, you hear people say, oh, he's too cocky, he's too confident. Fuck those people. But like with anything, there's some yin to the yang, right? And there's always a mix. There's always some truth to the falseness of things and falseness in the truth. So what I say is, when it comes to overconfidence, the difference is when you absolutely subtract the possibility and deny the possibility of being wrong, of there being an outcome that you don't want, a repercussion that you don't have in mind. That is overconfidence. You see? So you can be confident in your ability, but overconfidence is when you ignore the repercussions of what your ability cannot force. You understand? And that's a lot of things in life, because it takes more than just two to tango. Even in a fighting game, I can't just rely on me to win. It also requires some trust with me and the person in front of me, ironically enough. Okay? It takes two to tango. So with overconfidence, in like a Street Fighter sense, it's like, hey, I'm gonna just pressure this. You know what? Actually, even better. I'm gonna meter dump all of my bar against Marissa. And now, shit, I'm in burnout. And she has level 3. Damn. But if I rewind it, we go back to this moment on you know, me pressuring in my head. I say, yo, what if I don't kill her on this confirm? And I say, if I don't kill her, what happens? Well, if I spend all of my super and I'm in burnout, okay, she has level 3. If she hits me with level 3 somehow, I'm in the other corner and she gets a guaranteed DI setup, as long as she knows what she's doing. So with that in mind, do I really want to make this decision? Do I really want to invest all of this bar and put myself in burnout? Now, this is how you solve the overconfidence. You prepare to be wrong. So this situation, this is where the beauty of personality and, you know, idiosyncrasies and everybody's different, you know, different style and philosophies comes into play. There's no wrong answer here. If you want to burn yourself out and risk it, by all means, whatever, right? Some people operate really well in high risk situations. Some are better at being risk averse. Everybody's different, and we have to honor that. All right, there is no cookie cutter solution to things, and we have to get our heads out of our asses and think that there is, or that my way is the highway, right? No, or my way or the highway, right? But that's not the case. But instead, if I say in this exact situation, well, okay, if I'm wrong and it doesn't kill Marissa and she hits me with level 3, am I okay with the worst possible outcome? If it's yes, then by all means, at least you acknowledged it, right? That's how you get better, because you acknowledged there's a repercussion. You see what I'm saying? But instead, if you ignore the possibility and you just pretend you're gonna be right and it's gonna kill and that everything is sunshine and flowers, that's when it's dangerous. And that overconfidence and that arrogance can get you killed. And that's what will generate a lot of inconsistencies with players that are actually good. Their arrogance. Okay? They choose not to look at things objectively. They choose to not even think of the possibility of things going wrong. See, me, I'm a person. My confidence stems from the fact that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. That's my confidence. It doesn't mean that everything will go according to plan. No, what it says is I will adapt. Right? And if I don't adapt, at least I tried to adapt. That's ultimately what gives me my that feeling, right, of fulfillment. That's me. That's what resonates with me. That's how I operate. Not everybody operates like that. So you have to find your own unique source that gets you to that point. Okay? So you could do the same thing with your strategies, your approaches. If I throw this fireball, am I okay with the worst possible outcome in this situation? If I'm low on drive gauge, right? I'm low on drive gauge and she has level 3. Do I really want to throw this fireball and I know this person's been jumping? If she does jump in this fireball and I get hit and she has level 3, I'm in burnout, I don't have super, she guarantees me, do I really want to make this decision? Am I okay with that? And if you are, by all means, that's you trust, just that's perfect. You die and you just die with pure conviction. That is a life worth living. But to sit there and ignore, or to sit there and be in fear, that is not it. Neither of those things are it. All right? You got to find your strength within the suffering. All right? Within the fear of losing. And that's ultimately will grant you your greatest victory and freedom. It's not being enslaved by your fears. Okay? So that concludes our 4 demons to good decision making. Okay? If you guys enjoyed it, please again consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, sharing this with somebody. It doesn't have to be only pertaining to Street Fighter. You can apply this to other things. I've taught this in Valorant. I've taught this in chess. Right? I've taught this to friends with like relationships. Right? So this is a pretty cool means to go about helping you make great decisions. You know, and I hope this is something that you will be able to leverage in your everyday life, not just in the game, but outside of it as well, which is equally important. I appreciate all of you guys. Love you guys. Let me know what you thought of the video. What is the one demon that you think plagues you? All right. And how are you going to go about solving it? Thank you guys. Have a good night. Love y'all. Peace.